Everybody, this is Arthur Garcia, and thanks for joining the Contabi Alliance for our series of Latinos in Accounting Tech. I'm really excited to get this series kick-started here, and I'm going to be your host for this session. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you Brian Fraire, Fraire in English. And he is an accounts manager at AutoEntry. And really want to thank him for allowing us this opportunity to learn more about himself, his career up to this point, where he sees opportunities for Latinos and Latinas in the professional, in the tech industry, and specifically in accounting tech. And so again, this series is to highlight Latinos and Latinas that are in the tech space, and specifically in the accounting tech. If we can go ahead and classify that as an industry, right? So small biz, fintech, we can throw a couple different things out there. So with that, again, welcome, Brian.
My first name is Ernesto, middle name Brian.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because I think it's important. So I think to get started here, Brian, what's helpful is, all superheroes have an origin story, and the past reveals so much about us, and we all have these amazing stories, and that's one of the reasons why we really wanted to share the amazing things that professionals like yourself are doing. So what's your, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your origin story?
Well, that's a loaded question, but I'm glad you asked, actually. Yeah, so I was born in Nogales, Arizona, in a border town. So if you know anything about border towns like Juarez borders El Paso, San Diego borders Tijuana. I was born in Nogales, that borders Nogales, Sonora, which is literally you see the border right there. But I grew up in Chula Vista, San Diego, and that borders Tijuana. And I used to have family that lives in Nogales and lives in Tijuana, so I was back and forth very often. My mom and my dad all born in Mexico. All my grandparents born in Mexico, and so I grew up very heavy with the Latino aspect. And I grew up around Latinos only. We all spoke Spanish growing up. I didn't learn English till I was 9, I think. My mom was an immigrant, so she actually came to the country on a temporary work visa. I think she was here I think she was in San Diego when her temporary work visa expired. So there was so we went through the legal issues of becoming a full-time resident. My mom, it took my mom 12 years to get a green card. And then it took her another 12 years to get her citizenship. My mom became a citizenship 2 years ago. Became a citizen 2 years ago. So I buried that. But what interested me in the accounting industry and tech specifically is I was at a technical background. I studied to be an engineer. But my mom and my dad they owned a small business. And in 2008, they actually lost it. I was 15 in 2008 when they actually lost the business. The economy crashed, a lot of people suffered. But when we went over the numbers after the fact, 4 years after the fact, we realized that if my parents had hired an accountant or someone that they could trust, that someone that understood them, even spoke their language, because they weren't hiring somebody that spoke their primary language, we probably could have survived the recession. We probably could have survived it and kept the business going. And then of course cuts would have been made and things would have done. But the thing with my parents is, not being natives of this country, they kind of put their trust, and we were at the mercy of the accountant and the people that we had hired around us so we had to outsource to an accounting firm. And it was we just kind of realized that they weren't as invested in us, and I don't think it had anything to do with the fact that they weren't like us. I'm big on building community. We do taxes here. I'm also an enrolled tax agent. My wife is an accountant. We do taxes. We do for example, currently we're experiencing a pandemic. We do small business consulting. So we have people that speak Spanish, only Spanish, and they don't understand I didn't know that I could apply for that pandemic relief fund. What is that? Can you explain it to me? And that's really where my passion lies, and that's really why I chose this industry, and me and my wife both committed to it. So we're kind of trying to tackle it from two ends. So she's the accountant, and then I'm the tech guy, and we're really big on building relationships, and we're really big on being of service and providing that service. And another thing I noticed after the economy, my parents lost their business, I noticed that my dad and my mom were doing odd jobs here and there. And I noticed that people were treating them and paying them less and treating them differently, as opposed to someone that could that was of the like a citizen origin kind of thing. So I remember my mom working for like nickels on the dime. People take, you know what I mean? And then my dad, like, so I just felt like they weren't fairly compensated for what they were. And at the time, I was too young to really like understand and be able to tell that, hey, dad, like normally if someone gets paid $100 and they're paying for 50, like don't do that. I was too young. I didn't understand. So that's really like I'm big on, I want like people from my background to have the same opportunities and not to feel taken advantage of, so that's
Sure.
where my passion is. That's where my origin, that's why I'm so passionate about this, you know what I mean?
Great. So then you're drawing a connection from your parents' entrepreneurial journey and how perhaps a proactive advisor or accountant could have helped them along the way, could have changed their path, right? So they might still be in business today had they had someone guiding them towards a successful path and journey. So very interesting. So I definitely can relate to you there. What kind of business was it, by the way?
So they were a retail for like Dish Network, Direct TV. So they installed like satellites, and my mom like was the salesperson. My mom would go out and like, hey, get Dish Network. My dad would go install the Dish Network, and then so it was kind of like that. I don't know if you have any background in it, but it was kind of like a used car sale, like a car sales shop where I sell Toyotas. You know what I mean? I represent
Sure.
Toyota, but I'm not actually Toyota. I just represent them and I sell Toyotas. So it kind of
Right.
works like that.
Excellent. So that realization that could have changed the trajectory of their business had an impact on you. And so you mentioned you got started in technology. You went ahead and got your EA. So did you get that as a result of being in the accounting industry and working in it? And you went to
Yeah.
do that, or yeah?
Yeah, directly. Yeah. I
Okay.
I was supposed to be a software engineer. I did. I was a tech actually. I was a tech at my University of Arizona. I was employed there as a student tech, and I was going there for engineering. And I didn't like sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours a day, or more. I didn't really like having two screens in front of me. I'm an extrovert. I really enjoy being out and about. So I didn't like, I needed to change career paths, but an engineering degree is always like a good thing to do. I recommend we encourage our kids to get educated. It's better to have an engineering degree and then not use it, in my opinion, than to not have it at all. So I always encourage people to try it. It's not for everybody, but it's a good, like, engineering. There's a high demand. There's always a good industry for that. But I got my EA as a direct result of working here with AutoEntry, and I realized that I could very easily just influence people around me, businesses around me. So here in Arizona, there's a lot of truck drivers, I noticed. So they would come in and like we would do some like bookkeeping for them, and then they'd ask us to do their taxes. Like, so once you built that trust and that respect, they would like, hey, like, I don't want to go to anybody else. Would you do this? Would you do that? So my wife needed help. So I decided to get my EA to help her
Right.
handle those people better.
We met a few years ago, and you were helping a firm in Uruguay. So you were helping a firm that was out of the country. I was also working at an accounting software company at the time, and we collaborated to try to find a solution for this firm. So you're based in the U.S. Your accounts are focused here in the U.S. What were you doing in Latin America? Is that just something that you wanted to help with, and just something that came across your table? How does that happen?
Well, it's back to the passion. Like someone came into our website and so at the time, actually, AutoEntry didn't support Spanish invoices, like los recibos y las facturas, las cuentas del banco in Spanish and Espanol, we didn't support them. So like I had no business helping them or trying to help them. But I'm like I said, I'm Mexican, and I have family members that have businesses in Mexico. So I was like, I'm gonna try it. Let's see. So I actually tried facturas and then recibos in Spanish, and the software worked. So I called them immediately, and I was like, hey, if you want to automate your accounting firm, you can use our software, but you need to change from your current software to an agnostic software. And at the time, there's only one for Latin America. There's really only one agnostic software. So there's a lot of South American people that are working in the States or have clients in the States, but they also have businesses in their home country, like myself. So my wife works with American companies, But some of these Americans own businesses in like Puerto Vallarta. They own hotels. They own like a resorts in Puerto Peñasco. Or for example, if you're ever in Nogales, Burritos Has, my wife's aunt owns like 12 of those. She owns all of them. They're called Burritos Has. They're delicious. It's kind of like a Taco Bell, but in Nogales. And they own property here and they own businesses here, but they also own, so there's a lot of those people, and there's only one agnostic software that can support them. So I called them and I said, hey, if you're serious, you need to change. And they were serious, and that's when we reached out to you directly and we said, Arthur, you speak Spanish, can you help me? And you did. So it was good.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's the I guess origin story of how we got connected. And so with that specifically, I know a lot of times in business, for specifically we're talking about accounting software companies, when you have a specific role and you're responsible for a specific territory or region, there's a battle, right? So when you know that you can help somebody, even though it's kind of outside of your scope, like, yeah, it's going to take a little work, it's going to take some time, it's going to be challenging to get some development resources to do that, and it's just not going to happen. So what advice would you have for someone that's in a similar type of role that has a lead or someone, you're excited, you're passionate, you want to help, but what can you do internally to?
As far as advice goes, I don't think I have anything that's specific. What I did though is, I kind of just established myself. I built a really good relationship with my superior, and I proved to them from the get-go that I'm serious, I'm passionate, I'm ready to go. And I think if your superiors see that and they have faith in you, when you ask them for a favor, like, hey, I know we don't support this country, I know we don't even use the software in this country, in this language, but can you do me a favor? I think that they're going to be more than willing to do that, especially when they see your passion and they see your drive. But also if there's a potential, like since that first conversation we had and we did that, I've done several Latin American / English deals. Like I have right now, currently, I can think of one in Puerto Rico. Like Puerto Rico is technically U.S. territory, but everything is in Spanish. I did that. I'm currently working right now with the Dominican Republic, so
Awesome.
It was a snowball effect from that conversation that we had 3 years ago. But I just, get it. My only advice is get after it. Like, do everything you can, get after it. It's going to require you working off the clock sometimes. It's going to require you, like, I know about taxes and regulations in Uruguay. Like, it required me to get on my computer. It required me to study. It required me to rent a law book from Barnes and Noble to read about Uruguay's laws and regulations and taxes. I'm never gonna live there. I'm never gonna go there. Like, I've never been there. I don't think I want to live there. Like, there's no reason for me. But I was just passionate about helping them, and they were serious about the cloud. So. Right. Fun fact, Uruguay has, in the entire country of Uruguay, they have 4,000 accountants registered. So like they're not a very large city to be selling accounting software, but a large country, I'm sorry. But again, it wasn't about the money for this one. It was just about the fact that I was really passionate in helping someone from my background.
So I'm sensing a common theme from you here, Brian. You started working in a technology company, and you thought, wow, I mean, I can probably help more people through what I'm doing, but also, your wife's an accountant, and why not take advantage of that, right? You know what best in class tools to use to help people. So you went and got your EA. You got this lead that came to you from another country. You spoke the language. You could have easily said, look, sorry, we're just not focused outside of the US at this moment. Let's keep in touch. But you actually engaged in that conversation. You built a relationship. You learned about compliance in that country. And that kind of helped you up for opportunities in Mexico and learning about facturación electrónica and working with El SAT. So you seem to have a student mentality when it comes to helping people, and I'm assuming it's helped you in your career thus far.
Yeah. Like if you have the mentality as like, I'm here to help you and I'm here to do what's best for you. Like at first it's kind of like, it's like a slow churn, but after the fact, like when people are just like, oh, this person's here to help, so let me talk to him anyway. You know what I mean? So you're after that, your phone just is you're incredibly busy. Your calendar's full. Like you try to have a conversation with a friend and you're with and then you're busy. But if you just have that mentality, like I'm here to help you, Like, I'm here to help you, and the reason I'm here to help you is because I know what your struggles are. Then I think that's the best way to go about it. Long term, I think that's the best way to go about it long term.
That's great. So let's shift gears a little bit. So I want to ask you a little bit about champions or allies that you have. So knowing that it takes a village to become successful, who's part of your village, and how have you leveraged people, whether they're mentors, managers, or, to get to where you are in your career, who's helped you along the way?
So honestly, the most helpful person has been my wife. Her name is Carmen, or her origin is Orozco. That's her dad's last name, Carmen Orozco. She's also from a border town, but she's an accountant. So it wasn't until it's easy to sell software, in my opinion. It's easy to just, hey, I have this thing, it helps. Do you want it? Yes or no? It's hard to advise. It's hard to consult. It's hard to really be value to you. It's hard to be a resource. After I committed to this, after I found out that this is what I wanted to do, we had serious conversations about I'm like, hey babe, so what do you do what is it that you really do? You know what I mean? Like how does this work? So she's just she's let me work for her basically and learn with her. And when there's something that we don't know, there's two of us. So there's two of us trying to fix one problem, and we handle one problem at a time. Also, my boss Tom Port. He married a Mexican. Se llama Amanda Gonzalez. He married Amanda Gonzalez. He also likes this community. He understands this community, but he's from London. He is in Inglaterra, but he's also been an incredible resource as far as being able to get me the things, the tools, and put me in the situations that I can to help people. If I didn't have the support of him, I don't think I'd be as effective in being able to be a resource. To be able to show up to your conferences or your meetings or your office and say, no, you're doing this different, or the laws are about to change, or we need to anticipate the new normal with this pandemic. Let's get cloud, let's get automated. So if I didn't have his support, I don't think I'd be where I'm at. Plus his guidance, because he's been doing this for a lot longer than I have, and he's been a lot more successful than I have. And it wasn't every once in a while I'm like, am I doing the right things? Am I really helping? Am I really making a difference? And he's always the one to say, hey, things take time, be patient. You're doing all the right things you need to do to be successful, and you care. Sometimes you care too much, but you care, and I think that's pretty. He always tells me, I think that's the only thing you really need is just to care. But you're doing the things and to show us, to show people, and to show everybody that you care. So I think those two have been a big influence in my life, and I appreciate both of them.
That's awesome.
Also, actually, I'm sorry. I think we have a mutual contact. Her name is Jackie Velez out of Houston, Texas.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, she's also been a resource actually, and she's also been incredibly helpful too. She's also more experienced than I am and been doing this a lot longer than I am. She just got promoted actually, so congratulations to her to Spanish director or something. But she's also I've been able to shoot her a message, and she's been able to respond, and it's always been with our Latino community. It's always been about hey, I have this problem in this community. What do you think I should do? And she's always been incredibly helpful too.
That's awesome. So allies within the industry coming alongside to help you, and at the end of the day, helping your clients or your customers. That's definitely important, especially being that look, the reality is we're so few, right? There's few Latinos in tech. There's a need for more. There's a great need for cultural diversity
Yes.
in business in general. And so it's great to see when Latinos and Latinas do business with each other without or send referrals or provide guidance without expecting anything in return, because it's very easy to get I haven't put a name on this yet, but there's something that happens when someone is the only Latino in a business, and there's a sense of pride, yeah, I'm the only one here, and I'm gonna be the champion, and I'm gonna be the only one. Que se les olvida dejar la puerta abierta, right? So there's a sense of fear, hey, if there's another Latino that comes to work here, then I won't be the only Latino anymore. Then there'll be two. But in reality, there needs to be more encouragement. There needs to be more partnership and support. In my opinion, I don't know if you agree with that example.
No, 100%, 100%. I think there's more of us than people know. I think there's more of us than people know, and I think in general we're incredibly hardworking. Like, just to put my personal experiences out there, like I know tons of people that work here, pay taxes here, and get no benefits from the government. They completely, they work for less, they do more, they pay the same amount of taxes, but they can't claim like Social Security. They can't claim like they can't do that because they just can't. They're not in a position to be able to do that, but they're still working, and they're still here, and they're still committed. And I think by nature we're incredibly hardworking, and I admire that about us. We shouldn't see each other as competition. Like we should see each other as like alliances and allies.
Absolutely. And so that's definitely one of the objectives that we have with this initiative, to highlight the Latinos that are doing amazing things in their companies and helping change the landscape for Latinos, given that the data shows that Latinos are the fastest growing entrepreneurship group in the country, and it's only going to continue to grow. So we need champions like you, Brian, also known as Ernesto, helping out Latino businesses. So I applaud you for the work that you've done, and I thank you for this opportunity for folks to get to know you more. So how can people get in contact with you? Anything new and exciting as we wrap here to share with the audience?
Yeah, no. So literally, I'm pretty sure we're gonna put my contact on there, my number, my work number. But if you go to AutoEntry.com and you ask for someone in Spanish, I will be the one to reply. I promise I'll be the one to reply. Nothing else. I encourage people. There's a book. Since we're on the entrepreneur Latino topic, there's a book called it's called Neither Here Nor There, and it's like English Spanish, called Ni de Aquí Ni de Allá. It's by Professor Luis Humberto Uriera. I'll send it to you on our private chat, and maybe you can put it on the website or something.
Sure.
But it's a really good look into the cultural anomalies that is what we are. We have like first generation or second generation Latinos. We have a strong bond to our parents' home country, which is like Mexico or Uruguay or Puerto Rico, whatever the case may be, because we're so close to it, but we're not from there. We're from here. So every once in a while we can feel kind of like lost in the weeds. Like, and I got this growing up. I would go to Mexico and they'd be like, "Oh, you're a gringo, you're a gringo." And I'm like, "No, dude, like, do I look like it?" Like, no, you're a gringo, like you live over there. Like, and then I come here and I'm like, "Oh, like, no, you're not, you're a Mexican American. You're not American, you know what I mean? You're not." So it's like the psychology of the cultural phenomenon. And I think that like have your Arthur, I know you have kids, have them read it. It's a really good read. But I think a lot of us can relate to that. It's called Ni de Aquí Ni de Allá by el profesor se llama Luis Humberto Uriera. I don't know how to say his last name, but I'll send it to you sometime. That way maybe you can put it on the website. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that book recommendation, and it's been a pleasure having you. I encourage those that are looking to identify professionals in the industry that are doing well and amazing things to look up and connect with Brian online. We'll share his information. And also check out AutoEntry. I mean, it's a great automation tool for accounting professionals, and you heard it here. So it works internationally. So connect with Brian. We're going to share his contact information to find out more about that, and continue following the series where we're going to bring and identify more Latinos in the accounting tech space and the amazing things that they're doing and sharing their stories with you. So thanks, everybody.